In the holy kingdom of philosophy, gentle unicorns gather and devout citizens live in peace. 16 years ago, a princess born with great magical power was revered as a savior by the people. However, tragedy struck when the child lost her magic and suffered a permanent wound to her forehead in a terrible accident. Disheartened, the king banished her to a convent, but years later, a strong and beautiful knight would bring her back into the world. This marks the beginning of the fated tale between an abandoned saint and the dark knight who loves her. Arriving at the destination, the knight Kierkegaard offers a simple morning greeting to the gate. Mounted on his steed, he commands them to move out and leaps into action. The destination is the Harriet Convent, located within the holy kingdom of philosophy. Inside the convent, nuns diligently sweep the high ceilings of the sanctuary. Elsewhere in the convent, a figure stirs quietly from their slumber. The morning sun filters through the windows, illuminating the peaceful routines of the nuns within the walls. Waking up groggily, the girl realizes it is already almost lunchtime. Sister Kate greets Princess Lulutica, who is shocked to realize how late she slept. Lulutica admits she got carried away with the bookkeeping and stayed up until morning working on the ledgers. Suddenly remembering something, she exclaims in realization. With a bright smile, she excitedly urges Sister Kate to look at the paperwork she finished. She proudly announces that the sales report from the garage sale is complete and will cover their miscellaneous expenses for a while. Kate notes that while it is unthinkable for royalty to work, the convent is lucky to have Lulutica handling finances. Lulutica sighs that she cannot relax because the sisters are far too careless with their money. Kate assures her they are grateful, while the princess admits she actually enjoys managing these things. However, the nun hesitantly asks if it was truly okay for Lulutica to sell her fancy ribbons and feather pens from the palace. Gazing out the window, Lulutica confirms she doesn't need anything extra anymore. Her days are now filled with working on ledgers, reading books, and mostly just sleeping. She chuckles to herself, calling it a proper nesting lifestyle. As Kate leaves to tell the others she is awake, Lulutica decides she is still sleepy and wants to rest before lunch. She lets out a massive yawn, succumbing to her drowsiness. Crawling back into bed, she mutters that she just needs a little more sleep. Narrating her own situation, she notes that anyone entering for the first time would be shocked by her state. Visitors would likely be disappointed not to find the beautiful, noble, and saintly Princess Lulutica they expect. Determined, she vows never to give anyone the chance to be disappointed. This is easy because no one visits the convent besides the sisters she already knows. She has resolved that she will never leave this place. Furthermore, she plans to never show herself in public as royalty again. Dark memories resurface of people calling her disgraceful and useless for having a scar and no magic. The old wound on her forehead throbs painfully as the bad memories flood back. Deciding that sleep is the best escape during times like this, she pulls the covers up. She affirms to herself that she has no need for love or marriage. Desiring only a life free of heart-shaking events, she cherishes her peaceful, round little life. Suddenly, a loud thud interrupts her peace. She wonders why it got so noisy and hears a scream. Just as quickly as it started, the sound abruptly stops. Peeking out from her blanket, she is startled and confused by the situation. A massive hoof steps onto the floor, shattering the debris beneath it. A knight riding a winged unicorn has crashed directly into her room. Their eyes meet in a tense, silent moment. Trembling, she stammers and asks who the intruder is. Hearing the sisters screaming, she realizes this man is definitely not a guest. As she observes him, her eyes widen in recognition. She focuses on the specific crest adorning his uniform. Recognizing he is riding a unicorn, she puts the pieces together. She deduces he must be a knight of the Holy King's personal order. The knight asks if she is Princess Lulutica and wonders why she is in a place like this. Confirming her identity, she asks if he needs something from her. The knight stares at her silently, his expression unreadable. Suddenly he draws a weapon, causing her to flinch. Terrified, Lulutica shrinks back as the device is pointed at her. She asks if he has come to kill her, assuming the worst. Rambling in panic, she claims she isn't a traitor and isn't worth the effort of killing. Pointing aggressively at the door, she commands him to go home immediately. Afterward, she cowers under her blanket, wondering if her dismissal was too harsh. A heavy silence hangs in the air between them. The knight looks taken aback, letting out a confused sound. He praises her for facing an enemy without showing a hint of fear. He notes that she carries herself without arrogance, exactly as his master should. Admiring her dignified presence, he makes a solemn decision. He declares that she is without a doubt the one he will serve for life. Lulitica makes a disgusted face, completely confused by his sudden devotion. She stares at him in disbelief as he prepares to move. Grabbing her, he tells her to be careful not to bite her tongue because they are leaving. As he hauls her onto the mount, she screams, asking why he is riding a unicorn indoors. The unicorn accelerates instantly, blurring the room around them. They blast off, leaving Lulitica screaming in terror. As they smash through the window, she cries out in despair over her precious glass breaking. The winged unicorn takes flight, soaring high into the sky above the convent. They leave a gaping hole in the convent wall as they ascend toward the clouds. Lulitica despairs that replacing that glass will cost 4 months of the sisters' living expenses. She laments that despite managing the budget so well, she has now caused everyone trouble. The knight holds her close and assures her he will fix it with magic. Lulitica is shocked that he can use magic despite not being royalty. Still confused, she demands to know where he is taking a useless princess like her. The winged steed descends from the clouds, approaching a fortified structure built into the cliffs. They land before a large, timber-framed mansion that stands solitary and imposing against the sky. The knight announces their arrival to Princess Lulitica as the journey ends. Disoriented, Lulitica looks around and questions where exactly they have been taken. Opening the door, the knight calmly welcomes her to his personal estate. Lulitica is tossed onto a bed, letting out a surprised yelp as she bounces on the mattress. The knight leans over her with an intense gaze, murmuring her name softly. Panic rises in her chest as she stammers, terrified by the sudden intimacy of the situation. Her mind races, trying to categorize this scenario within her limited experience. Her imagination runs wild with romance novel tropes, convincing her that a passionate night is imminent. She trembles uncontrollably, fearing that things are progressing at a scandalous rate. As the knight declares he found it, Lulitica squeezes her eyes shut, screaming internally that she is being defiled. He reaches out, his hand brushing gently past her neck to retrieve something. The expected assault does not happen, leaving her blinking in sheer confusion. He explains that a sparkling object caught inside the blanket had merely caught his eye. Holding up a gold coin, he reveals that it had simply gotten tangled in her hair. Mortified, Lulitica wishes the ground would swallow her whole for misunderstanding the situation so completely. She covers her face, peeking through her fingers to see if he is mocking her. Observing him closely, she notes that the maturity she sensed earlier seems to have vanished. He casually offers her the coin, making her realize he is likely not much older than she is. His expression shifts to one of seriousness as he demands something in return for the gift. Lulitica seizes the moment to ask the most important question: why did he take her from the convent? The knight remains silent, his gaze turning distant and contemplative. He slowly drops to one knee, lowering himself to her level with a solemn air. He states firmly that the abduction was entirely his own decision. He reveals the grave news that Holy King Ishtad has gone missing. Lulitica is struck speechless, repeating the words in disbelief. She recalls that her brother, the 16th Holy King, is the only relative she truly respects. In denial, she suggests silly possibilities, wondering if he just got drunk and passed out in a bush. The knight grimly reports that they searched everywhere and ruled out all such possibilities. A heavy silence falls between them as the reality of the situation sinks in. Lulitica questions his actions, noting that holy knights are sworn to the king, not his sister. She tells him coldly that she has left that life and he should focus on searching for the king instead. The knight admits he is no longer part of the order, confirming he has gone rogue. His hand clenches into a fist, betraying a deep-seated emotion regarding his past. He explains that he joined the academy only after losing his guardian. While he swore loyalty and owes the king a debt, his path is now his own. He bluntly states that the king is no longer his concern, even though he is missing. Lulitica remarks on his bluntness as he confesses he hated the king's overly energetic mottos. His gaze sharpens, revealing the true depth of his conviction. He declares with absolute conviction that he has decided from the bottom of his heart to serve her. He insists that she must rise to the occasion and become the rightful holy king. Lulitica acknowledges that she technically has a claim to the throne since her brother has no heir. However, she argues that a blood claim is not enough reason for a total stranger to worship her. Frustrated and confused, she demands to know who he really is. He introduces himself formally as Norkirkestein. Dropping the formality, he asks her to simply call him Noah. Lelutica repeats the name softly, testing how it sounds. A gentle smile softens his features, transforming his intimidating presence into something warmer. Lelutica blushes, caught off guard by the sudden change in his demeanor. She finds herself unexpectedly happy to see him smile, a feeling that surprises her. He quickly sobers, explaining that he took her because danger is closing in on her. Lelutica repeats the word danger, her confusion returning. He warns that with the king gone, many factions are trying to install a puppet ruler to benefit themselves. He explains that he had to move her secretly and quickly to save her life. Lelutica thanks him but questions if crashing through a window was truly the most discreet method. She points out that the holy knight he saluted definitely saw them, compromising the secrecy. Noah laughs it off, claiming that wrapped in the blanket, she just looked like a giant furball. Lelutica pouts, offended that a princess would be compared to a furball. He insists that no one would suspect a princess was inside such a filthy blanket. He concludes that her location remains a secret, while she mutters about being called filthy. He declares that until the day of her coronation arrives, she must stay hidden. She is to live in this mansion, alongside him. Lelutica stammers, realizing the implication that it will be just the two of them. She blushes furiously, shouting at the idea of living together in the mansion. Noah declares that Lelutica will reside in this mansion until her coronation as the Holy King. Blushing furiously, Lelutica realizes with a shock that she will be alone with Noah in the massive estate. She panics and vehemently rejects the idea, shouting that she has no intention of becoming the Holy King. Apologizing but firm, she insists that no matter how hard he works, she will not take the throne. She explains she only agreed to stay to avoid assassination, still believing her brother Ishtad is alive somewhere. Noah cuts her off, warning her not to get any weird ideas or expectations about her safety. His eyes narrow intensely as he challenges her naive understanding of the situation. Lelutica stares back, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and confusion. Without a word, he steps into her personal space and gently reaches for her face. Trembling, Lelutica stammers and asks what is going on as his hand cups her cheek. Noah notes that she is pale and asks if she is feeling uneasy about her circumstances. She snaps back that of course she is uneasy, given that people are trying to assassinate her. He looks at her quietly, his expression softening into something unreadable. Suddenly, he pulls her into a tight embrace, vowing simply to protect her. Holding her close, he swears he will keep her safe no matter what happens. Lelutica wants to push him away and demand answers about his true motives and reverence. However, she finds herself melting into the warmth and comfort of his arms instead. The mansion stands silent and imposing under the bright sky. Lelutica wakes with a start, gasping as she shoots up in bed. Disoriented, she looks around the unfamiliar room, wondering where she is. Her memory returns, and she recalls agreeing to live in this place. Realizing Noah is gone, she deduces she must have fallen asleep immediately after their conversation. She pouts, annoyed that he left her alone despite his grand promise to protect her. Wandering into a library, she questions if this massive mansion is really just for one person. She pulls a book from the shelf, discovering it is a research paper by Dr. Kirchestein. Connecting the name to Noah, she wonders if he is the late doctor's son. She calculates that the doctor died 10 years ago, which aligns perfectly with Noah's age and history. A sudden, sharp pain throbs in her head as she wonders if this was the doctor's room. Overcome with unease, she decides she does not want to spend another second in there. She turns to flee, stammering in distress as she tries to leave. A door opens nearby, interrupting her panic. Noah's voice calls out, searching for Princess Lelutica. He steps into the room, wondering if she is hiding somewhere. Walking through the library, he scans the area for any sign of her. His gaze falls downward, spotting something tucked away. He finds Lelutica fast asleep, curled up in a small nook. Amused, he whispers and asks why she chose to sleep in a place like this. A gentle smile crosses his face as he watches her slumber. Lelutica stirs, hearing her name being called softly. She stretches her arms high, letting out a satisfied groan. Her eyes flutter open, adjusting to the light. Seeing Noah, she breathes a sigh of relief that he is actually there. He apologizes for his absence, explaining he just stepped out for a moment. Changing the subject, he brings up her odd choice of location. He asks why she decided to sleep in such a cramped, narrow spot. Lelutica explains the room was too big and scary, so finding this space was a great discovery. She rambles enthusiastically about how fitting perfectly into the 120 centimeters gap makes her feel safe. Noah listens silently to her passionate explanation about nesting spots. He interrupts her logic, pointing out that the uncleaned spot must be incredibly dusty. She looks down, realizing she is indeed covered in filth. Lilitica freezes, horrified by the realization of the cursed house dust. Noah tells her not to worry and says they can deal with the mess later. He reveals he brought her personal belongings and a huge stash of gold coins found under her bed. Presenting the modest pile of items, he tells her that is everything he found. Lilitica confirms it is all there, stating it was enough for her modest life. Noah looks skeptical, noting that for a princess, the amount of possessions seems far too little. He presses her, asking specifically what happened to all the dresses and jewels the kingdom sent. She averts her eyes, trying to deflect by asking how he earned the gold coins instead. Sweat drops down her face as she tries to smile innocently. Noah stares her down, guessing correctly that she sold or gave them away. He confirms his suspicion that she indeed sold them all. He lists the dresses and jewels, realizing she kept absolutely nothing. Flustered, she argues that flashy dresses are useless in a convent and town girls appreciated them more. She defends her actions, stating she simply passed on what she didn't use to those in need. Noah questions how she plans to survive with only 3 nightgowns, ignoring her plea not to call them that. Lilitica insists they are negligées and claims 3 are plenty since she never leaves the room. Noah grabs her shoulder, his grip firm and determined as he stops her protest. He hands her a garment and orders her to zip it up, dismissing her complaints about her nesting lifestyle. He calmly states that he has no intention of denying her preferred way of living. Lilitica covers her ears and refuses to listen, turning away in a huff. Suddenly, she realizes with horror that the blanket she is wearing is absolutely filthy. She freezes in place, the weight of her unhygienic reality crashing down on her. Noah sighs, begging her to at least stop sleeping on the floor. She fidgets nervously, admitting that she just doesn't feel settled sleeping anywhere else. A silent tension fills the air as he stares at her, processing her words. She describes her ideal nesting spot as somewhere small, dark, and warm, like an alcove. Noah repeats her requirements to himself, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. He stands up abruptly, moving with a sudden purpose. Gesturing to the bed, he politely invites Princess Lilitica to come closer. Lilitica blinks, looking up at him in total confusion. He pats the space beside him, signaling for her to approach him. With a sudden movement, she is pulled forward, letting out a surprised squeak. Noah pulls her onto his lap, wrapping his arms securely around her. Her eyes widen in shock as she processes the sudden physical contact. He brushes a hand through her hair, murmuring that this spot fits her criteria. He whispers that his arms are definitely small, dark, and warm enough for her. Lilitica flushes, realizing he is offering himself as her nesting spot. He gazes down at her with a gentle, affectionate look. Burying her face in his chest, she admits that this is a bit embarrassing. She hides her burning face, overwhelmed by the intimacy of the moment. Noah smiles softly, watching her flustered reaction with amusement. He expresses his relief that she has finally found her cozy spot. Lilitica mutters a shy agreement, unable to deny the comfort she feels. She thinks to herself that being held by him is strangely calming as he addresses her again. He suggests that they should go out into town together. Her eyes snap open in surprise at the sudden proposal. The scene transitions as they prepare to leave the safety of the mansion. Meanwhile, reports confirm there is still no lead on the Holy King's disappearance. The Cardinal Council officially recognizes Princess Lilitica as a candidate for royal succession. They also announce her rival, Prince Julio Helene Galactra of the Galactra Empire. Complimenting her beauty, Noah vows that he will never let her feel afraid again during their first outing. He gently cups her. Lilitica complains that she cannot relax or sprawl out in her outfit, only for the attendant to remind her it is a formal wedding dress, not loungewear. Noah's eyes widen in surprise as the curtain is pulled back to reveal her appearance. He compliments Princess Lilitica, telling her she looks absolutely stunning as the curtains fully part to display the gown. Lilitica questions the necessity of the fitting since she has no use for a wedding dress, declaring its suitability irrelevant. The attendant ignores her protest, listing the need for matching accessories, gloves, and shoes that she will inevitably require. Noah offers a gentle, reassuring smile to ease the tension of the moment. A sudden realization strikes Lilitica as the atmosphere in the shop shifts. She flusteredly denies they are a couple to the staring bystanders, insisting she doesn't even plan to buy the dress. Internally, she wonders if their appearance truly mimics that of a bride and groom in the eyes of the public. The scene shifts to them browsing other clothes, the image of the wedding dress still lingering in the background. Noah sips his drink quietly while Lilitica and the attendant watch him with curiosity. Lilitica holds a plush unicorn close, looking wistful while Noah remains silent. They sit together for tea, the silence stretching comfortably between them as the day progresses. A heavy sigh escapes Lilitica, signaling the end of the exhausting fitting session. She complains of exhaustion, her energy completely drained by the ordeal. Noah teases her for having the stamina of a child and suggests they get lunch instead of going home early. As they walk through the streets, passers-by whisper and stare, captivated by Noah's striking appearance. Lilitica notices the attention Noah is garnering from the crowd and glances his way. She realizes everyone is staring simply because Noah is remarkably striking. Noah admits he wears black simply because he likes it, dismissing her assumption that he hated the Holy Knight uniform's color of hypocrisy. He jokingly asks Princess Lilitica to change the official uniform to black once she takes the throne. They arrive at their destination, standing before the entrance of a shop. Lilitica excitedly points out a spot she wants to visit, calling Noah to follow her lead. She takes a bite of the pie, her face lighting up with pure delight at the flavor. She exclaims that the treat is sweet, crisp, and delicious enough to make her cheeks fall off. Noah suddenly reaches out, calling her name softly as his hand approaches her face. He gently wipes her cheek with his thumb, catching her completely off guard. Noah casually explains that she had a bit of pie stuck on her face. Lilitica blushes, stammering a quiet thanks for the intimate gesture. He teases her again, remarking that she eats like a child who can't even handle a pie properly. She retorts that he sounds like a dad, while he offers to finish whatever she cannot eat. A sudden shift in his expression catches her attention, causing her to call his name uncertainly. Two men in uniform appear behind them, demanding to know what Noah is doing there. They confront him about abandoning the order with nothing but a letter stating he would never return. Noah calmly declares that he is forming a new Holy Knight order dedicated specifically to Princess Lilitica. The knights realize this implies Lilitica is the next Holy King, recalling rumors of the princess shut away in a convent. The men exchange skeptical glances, processing this new information about the succession. Lilitica panics internally, realizing they are in deep trouble if the knights identify her. One of the knights leans in close with a smirk, addressing Noah familiarly. He mocks Noah, asking if the first thing he did after leaving the order was find a girlfriend despite his obsession with the princess. The knight insults Lilitica's disguise, asking if Noah has a taste for girls in ugly pajamas. He bets that her face must be insanely cute to justify the outfit and reaches out to remove her hood. The situation escalates as the knight grabs at her, ignoring her cry of alarm to look his way. A sudden impact halts the knight's movement, freezing the scene in tension. Noah's hand shoots out, intercepting the knight with crushing force. Lilitica trembles, overcome with fear at the sudden outbreak of violence. The knight stumbles back toward the water, exclaiming in surprise at the sudden aggression. Noah issues a cold, menacing warning, forbidding the man from touching her. He glares with icy intensity, declaring to everyone present that she is his master. His hand remains protectively on her shoulder, shielding her from the threat. Noah threatens that any further disrespect towards her will be met with unforgiving consequences. The knights are left confused and disgusted, questioning what he means by master. The confrontation ends as they turn to leave, putting distance between themselves and the knights. Noah advises her to wear a better disguise next time to avoid such dangerous situations. He looks down at her with concern, checking if Princess Lilitica is all right after the ordeal. She hides her face, stammering a denial and thanking him while trying to compose herself. Internally, she feels a deep sense of gratitude knowing that he truly protected her from the heart. She wonders why her heart is racing so fast as she clutches her chest in confusion. The clouds drift peacefully overhead, contrasting with the turmoil of her emotions. She reaches up to touch his hair, calling his name softly to get his attention. She leans against him near the fireplace, assuring him that she is really okay now. Tears well up in her eyes as she admits she is actually furious at her own helplessness. She calls out to him again in confusion as he suddenly leans his full weight against her. Panic sets in as he collapses completely, leaving her shouting his name in alarm. Noah collapses against her, cursing himself for putting her in danger despite his sworn oath to protect her. She hastily pulls back her sleeve to show him her unblemished skin, reassuring him that she is completely unhurt. A bright smile lights up her face as she presents her arm as proof of her safety. Noah dismisses her evidence, stating flatly that her not being hurt isn't good enough to satisfy his worry. His hand tightens around his sword hilt, trembling slightly with suppressed rage. He reaches out to gently cup her jaw, swearing intently that he will never let anyone lay a hand on her again. His gaze intensifies as he makes a solemn vow to never let her feel afraid again. He holds her face tenderly, his thumb brushing her cheek as he stares deep into her eyes. Satisfied for the moment, he pulls away while Lulutica flushes and whispers a quiet thank you. Noah suddenly freezes and looks sharply to the side, causing Lulutica to panic and wonder if an assassin has appeared. He turns his back to her, focusing his attention on something approaching from the shadows. He calls out a command for the hidden figure to come closer. A white hoof steps into the frame, followed by the muscular leg of a beast. The creature reveals itself as a magnificent winged unicorn, its white coat gleaming in the light. The unicorn nuzzles Noah affectionately while Lulutica watches the reunion in awe. The beast's eye opens, revealing a gentle intelligence as it acknowledges its master. Lulutica recognizes the creature immediately as the mount Noah was riding earlier. She leans in with curiosity, asking Noah for the beautiful creature's name. Noah explains that they have been partners since he became a knight and introduces him as Kierkegaard. The unicorn suddenly jerks its head, sensing something about Noah or perhaps just feeling playful. It ruthlessly headbutts Noah in the face with a heavy impact, catching him completely off guard. Unfazed by the assault, Noah retrieves a crumpled document from the saddlebag, identifying it as a news bulletin. Lulutica realizes he only brought the horse so he could retrieve the bulletin he had earlier and calls him smart. A gloved hand unfolds the paper to reveal the momentous news printed within. The headline announces that under the theocracy's succession law, 2 heirs to the Holy Throne have been selected. Lulutica reads the list, seeing her own name as the first heir and Julio Helene Galactra as the second. She is bewildered, noting that Prince Julio is her Aunt Helene's son, but Helene gave up her royal rights when she married into the Galactra Empire. She deduces that since the Holy King had no children and the council claims she doesn't want the throne, they pulled Helene's son as a quick fix. She clutches the paper, declaring that such an exception is unacceptable and will throw the country into chaos. She warns that if Julio inherits, the Holy Kingdom of Philosophy will become a vassal state to the empire and lose its religious status. Determined, she vows to protect philosophy from annexation until her brother returns. Her resolve wavers as she admits she has no political connections and has lost her magical power. Noah interrupts her self-doubt, stating she already has what she needs while she wonders what someone like her can do. He reaches into his coat, preparing to show her the solution to her lack of influence. He reveals a handful of gold coins, leaving Lulutica staring at them in confusion. Noah explains that used wisely, these coins are her greatest weapon to buy allies and protect the throne. Lulutica remains skeptical, doubting that the Cardinal Council can be convinced as easily as buying daily goods. Noah smirks, countering that it is all in how she uses it and claiming that even love can be bought with gold. Lulutica asks what he means by that as Noah notes the wind is starting to shift. He gently touches a lock of her hair, preparing to impart a cynical lesson about the world. He recounts how knight cadets in the all-male dorm were love-starved and would sigh over women they couldn't afford to approach. He argues that if one wants love, money comes first, as many had to watch their beloveds marry others due to poverty. He posits that paid love is faster and more reliable, while Lulutica retorts that his example is extreme and she believes in unconditional love. Flustered by his logic, Lulutica stomps her foot and admits that technically he is right. She gives up the argument, telling Noah that he is definitely a bit odd. She resolves to play the part of a worthy heir until her brother is found, using his gold to pay to win and protect the country. She reaffirms her duty, stating that with her brother gone, she is the only one left to protect the nation. A close-up shows the unicorn standing quietly, witnessing her renewed determination. Lulutica strokes Kierkegaard's nose, looking into the beast's eyes with a gentle smile. She whispers to herself that she has to do what she can. Noah watches her silently from behind, his expression. The intricate folds of the dress cascade down, showcasing the high quality of the fabric. Lulutica stands adorned in elegant jewelry, her face made up to perfection for the coming trial. She stares into the mirror, visibly surprised by the transformation reflecting back at her. She muses that in this outfit, she almost passes for a proper member of the royal family. Internally, she mocks herself as a useless royal who possesses absolutely no magical power. A servant opens the door to announce her presence, addressing her formally as Princess Lulutica. Lulutica turns to see Noah standing there and greets him casually. She immediately scolds him, asking how many times she has to tell him to knock before entering. Noah offers no apology, simply staring at her in complete silence. Unnerved by his gaze, she asks him to stop staring silently and explain what is wrong. Noah finally speaks, honestly telling her that she looks beautiful. Lulutica's eyes widen in genuine shock at the unexpected praise. She blushes, admitting that seeing the usually stoic Noah show emotion is quite flustering. She tries to deflect the compliment, insisting that it is only the dress that makes her look good. Noah ignores her self-deprecation and reaches out toward her head. He carefully adjusts her tiara and veil, ensuring every detail is perfect. He reassures her that she looks like a splendid first princess, no matter who is looking. Lulutica remains unconvinced, feeling that something is still missing from her appearance. She scrutinizes her reflection, noting the gems and the sheer veil adorning her. She admits she looks flawless but insists she needs to project the undeniable presence of a ruler. Noah offers a solution, asking if he should turn on the lights to help her see better. A lamp clicks on, casting a warm glow into the room. Noah stands amidst the light, seemingly commanding it with a subtle magical influence. Lulutica watches him, her eyes reflecting the strange illumination. She asks why he has magic power when the Kirkestein family is not of royal lineage. Noah explains that the doctor was an illegitimate child of royalty, so noble blood flows in his veins. He clarifies that while the name wasn't inherited, a certain amount of magical power was passed down. Lulutica asks if he can summon light, and he admits he can only manage a weak glow. Curiosity piqued, she demands he explain more about how his magic works. She stares in awe as he demonstrates his ability with a soft sound. Noah smiles gently, bathed in the soft light of his own creation. He apologizes that he cannot make the light as bright as actual daylight. He explains that he can only summon tiny glowing particles that resemble stars in the night sky. He asks if she can see the stars even in the daylight, and she confirms she can see them faintly. She marvels at the sight, noting that they twinkle softly just like real stars. Noah holds his hand out, the magic fading as he finishes his demonstration. Lulutica exclaims that his magic is exactly what she needs. She demands he use his magic to make her sparkle and shine for her entrance. She wants to create a false narrative of a holy princess returning from seclusion, cloaked in radiance. She declares she doesn't care if it's a lie, as long as the illusion holds until her brother returns. She leans in close, pleading with him to help her with this deception. Noah refuses, stating she is already regal enough and needs no flashy displays of magic. Lulutica suddenly remembers something and starts rummaging through her things. She produces a gold coin and holds it up to his face with a determined look. She uses his own logic against him, arguing that if gold can buy love, it can certainly buy magic. Noah adjusts his collar, staring at the coin with an unreadable expression. Lulutica watches him closely, realizing he is actually hesitating. He eventually agrees, though Lulutica looks confused by his sudden compliance. He sets a condition, stating he will only provide enough magic to match the value of one coin. Noah drops to one knee in a formal gesture of fealty. He pledges his strength to her, addressing her formally as Princess Lulutica. Lulutica gasps softly, surprised by the sudden shift in his demeanor. He kisses her hand, leaving her wondering what this strange sensation is. She describes the emotion welling up inside her as a sweet, nostalgic feeling. Suddenly, he pulls her hand sharply, breaking the moment. He pulls her close, his expression serious as he prepares to escort her. Lulutica blushes furiously, caught off guard by his proximity. He tells her it is time to go, but she pauses, a realization dawning on her. She shouts, "I knew it," as she connects the dots regarding the situation. The scene shifts to the grandeur of the cathedral's ceiling, emphasizing the scale of the event. Chief Cardinal Machiavel addresses the court, presenting Prince Julio as the rightful next holy king. He extols Julio's virtues, citing his royal blood and exceptional magical power as proof of his worthiness. Prince Julio steps forward, claiming he has come only to aid his mother's struggling homeland. The crowd reacts with awe, murmuring their approval of the prince. Prince Julio stands in the cathedral, dismissing the late King Ishtad's rule as child's play and vowing to turn the country into a powerful state. He addresses the assembly with disdain, asking if they are tired of their poor lives that rely solely on unicorn tourism. He proposes a radical shift, urging the nation to strengthen ties with the Galactra Empire to ensure the nation thrives. A bishop interrupts, arguing that the princess still lives and crowning a foreign prince is essentially inviting a takeover. Chief Cardinal Machiavel intervenes instantly, commanding the bishop to silence himself immediately. He discredits Princess Lulutica, claiming she was mentally shattered by the Judith Research Institute explosion and remains in seclusion. He asserts that she has no intent to inherit the throne, but a voice suddenly cries out from the back to wait. A heavy sound echoes through the hall as the massive doors begin to swing open. The crowd turns in unison, gasping as a blinding light floods the entrance. A magnificent white beast steps into the light, its unicorn horn gleaming brightly. A guard shouts in confusion, demanding to know who these intruders are. A voice cuts through the tension, asking if the court fails to recognize her. Lulutica enters on the white unicorn, led by Noah, who is dressed in a sharp military uniform. The hem of her pristine dress flows elegantly against the beast as they advance into the hall. Detailed close-ups reveal the intricate lace and the sheer quality of her attire. She rides with her eyes closed in serene grace while Noah guides the steed with a serious expression. Noah whispers to her that the plan is working perfectly. Lulutica opens one eye slightly, glancing around to gauge the reaction of the stunned court. Noah leans in close, his face near hers, silently urging her to maintain the regal facade. Internally she steels herself, realizing she cannot run now and must do what she is capable of. Prince Julio breaks the silence, asking why they have barged in without even offering a greeting. He smirks arrogantly, demanding to know exactly who she thinks she is. Lulutica challenges him, asking if Prince Julio has forgotten the face of the girl he played with before the convent. She mentions the time before her seclusion, locking eyes with him to assert her identity. Julio's smirk vanishes, replaced by a look of genuine shock as realization strikes him. The veil lifts slightly as she moves, confirming to him exactly what her presence implies. The unicorn comes to a halt before the dais, forcing the judges and cardinals to stare at the bride-like figure. Lulutica takes a breath, preparing to speak the words that will change the fate of the succession. She declares loud and clear that she is Lulutica el Philosophy, the first princess of the Holy Kingdom. The crowd erupts into chaos, shouting her name and questioning why she has returned. She commands silence, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the confused assembly. She stands tall, proclaiming her status as a legitimate heir to the throne. She formally objects to Prince Julio's appointment, declaring she does not renounce her claim to the crown. Exhausted from the masquerade, Lulutica collapses onto the floor in a dramatic heap, declaring she has absolutely nothing left to give. She demands her favorite dirty blanket from Noah, refusing to move another inch or maintain her royal composure. Noah corrects her that he washes the blanket properly, so she really shouldn't call it dirty. Lulutica laments that playing the role of a perfect princess for even 15 minutes causes her whole body to ache. Noah chides her to lie down properly if she intends to nap, but she claims she lacks the energy to be a decent human being. Wrapped in her blanket, she insists this position is comfortable, even if she looks like a mere dust ball from the outside. Noah gazes down at the bundled princess with an unreadable, silent expression. He jokingly asks if she is turning into a cocoon and requests she at least show her face to him. She pops her head out, suddenly worried the cleaning staff might mistake her for oversized garbage and throw her away. A silence stretches between them as Noah leans in close, their eyes locking in a tender, unblinking moment. Lulutica stares back, her breath hitching as she finds herself lost in his gaze. A soft, gentle smile graces Noah's lips as he looks down at her. He reaches out, his hand moving carefully toward her face to touch her. With a teasing tone, he simply remarks that her hair has become quite a mess. Lulutica flushes, caught off guard by the mundane comment during such an intimate atmosphere. She feels a pang of frustration, thinking it is unfair for him to look at her with such gentle eyes despite her disheveled state. Suggesting he should rest too, she wonders internally if he is disappointed seeing her like this. Noah offers her the bed, revealing this was his room before he entered the convent, so she should feel free to use it. Lulutica glances around the familiar space, taking in the surroundings with a nostalgic look. She notes with a soft expression that the room has not changed a bit since the past. A memory surfaces of her parents in this very room, recalling a time when they still cherished her. Snapping back to the present, she refuses the bed, insisting she is fine staying on the floor. Noah looks at her silently, sensing the weight of the memories she refuses to voice. Deciding not to argue, he declares that he will stay here in the room with her as well. He walks to the window, gazing out at the castle grounds with a serious expression. He observes that even the unicorns are safe here, as no one dares harm them within the Holy King's castle. He explains that the royal family treasures them, evidenced by the Protection Act his brother created. Though the cardinals opposed it, the new law stands to protect the sacred guardians of the kingdom. He details how their horns can be crafted into expensive magic crystals that amplify power. Because of their immense value, the herds were hunted relentlessly until their numbers plummeted. King Ishtad personally traveled the nation to reform policies and strictly ban their capture. Noah credits the revival of the unicorn population and the tourism industry to his brother's tireless efforts. However, he fears that if Julio takes the throne, the cardinals will force the repeal of those protective laws. Determined, Noah realizes he must find his brother quickly to prevent that dark future. Suddenly, a loud thud echoes against the door, breaking the quiet of the room. A voice from the hallway demands the door be opened immediately, shattering the peace. The door bursts open with violent force, startling the occupants inside. Noah turns calmly toward the intrusion and asks the stranger's identity. A man kicks the door fully down, calling Noah an irresponsible bastard for disappearing. The intruder is revealed to be Vovenargs, captain of the First Holy Knights, demanding to know where Noah has been slacking off. Noah retorts that he left a resignation note and complains that the captain is being too loud. Vovenargs yells that he refuses to accept the resignation of such a skilled knight. Lelutica watches the bickering men from the floor, wondering if she should intervene to stop them. A maid interrupts the argument, announcing she has brought tea for Her Highness. Noah glances back, his expression sharpening as he assesses the situation. He directs the captain to handle the intruder while he attends to the serving maid. Lelutica retreats deeper into her blanket, panicked that anyone other than Noah might see her unkempt state. The maid approaches and sets the tea service down on the table. Lelutica offers a muffled thanks from within her protective cocoon. Emerging slightly, she casually asks if the tea has undergone a poison test. The maid clicks her tongue in irritation as Lelutica explains she only consumes tested items inside the castle. Dropping the facade entirely, the maid hisses a death threat. She lunges forward, screaming Princess Lelutica's name with murderous intent. Lelutica freezes, her eyes widening in shock at the sudden aggression close to her face. The assassin strikes, creating a chaotic splash of liquid as she attacks. Noah and Vovenargs both react instantly to the sudden outbreak of violence. Glass shatters as the tray is upended in the struggle. The men shout the princess's name in unison, rushing to intervene. The assassin is surprised that her weapon struck a protective layer instead of flesh. Noah intercepts the attack, shielding the princess with his own body. The assassin is slammed forcefully onto the floor, incapacitated by the knights. A syringe filled with poison clatters to the ground, revealing the intended method of assassination. Noah turns back to Lelutica, asking urgently if she is hurt, to which she replies she is fine. Vovenargs holds the assassin down, demanding to know who ordered the hit on the princess. The assassin glares defiantly from the floor under the maid's headdress, her expression twisted with frustration and malice. She spits out that she has no intention of talking just because they asked her to. However, her curiosity gets the better of her as she begins to speak despite her defiance. She asks if the strange hardness she struck was armor rigged up because Lelutica has tons of enemies. Lelutica awkwardly corrects the assassin, admitting that it is not actually armor protecting her. Reaching into her dress, she reveals the protective padding was actually a massive stash of gold coins. She giggles that pouches jingle too much, so she keeps the precious money close to her body just in case. Vovenargs watches with a deadpan expression, realizing this saintly princess is actually a money grubber who counts coins at night. Lelutica catches the silent judgment and mentally notes that she will have a stern word with them later. The assassin rages that her employer lied about the princess being naive and only offered 10 gold coins for the job. Noah steps in sharply, demanding to know if his brother was also targeted by these cheap contracts. A dark, mocking smirk spreads across the assassin's face as she looks up at the knight. She reveals that King Ishtad's life was worth slightly more than the princess's at 20 coins. Bitterness pours out as she explains how the unicorn protection law destroyed the craftsmen's livelihoods and drove them into poverty. She screams that because of the royals, she was sold to abusive masters and forced to become an assassin just to survive. Glaring with hatred, she declares that Lilitica has no right to complain about being assassinated given the suffering they caused. Lilitica meets the girl's gaze with a sorrowful expression and quietly admits that she is right. Without hesitation, the princess moves closer to the dangerous girl on the floor. She gently takes the assassin's hand, apologizing on her brother's behalf for the law that led to such pain and abuse. The assassin freezes, her eyes widening in sheer disbelief at the unexpected kindness. She yanks her hand away, demanding to know why a princess would touch such filth. Lilitica refuses to let go, insisting those hands are not filthy but simply hardworking survivors of cruelty. She promises to tell her brother about this suffering first and thanks the girl for sharing her pain. With a gentle smile, Lilitica asks the assassin for her name. The girl hesitates, looking down as she struggles with the question. She explains that while she threw away her family name, she could never bring herself to give up Angela. Lilitica listens intently, repeating the name softly to herself. Beaming with genuine warmth, the princess tells her that it is a lovely name. Angela stares back, her eye wavering as the wall around her heart begins to crack. Lilitica casually offers her a salary of 3 gold coins a week. Confused by the shift in conversation, Angela asks if she isn't going to be executed instead. Vovenargs immediately protests that attempting to kill royalty is punishable by death, but Lilitica screams at him to stop. Lilitica ignores the protocol and declares that Angela is going to be her maid from now on. The 3 observers stand in stunned silence, unable to process the princess's absurd decision. Lilitica smiles brightly at their collective confusion, leaving them with nothing but a shocked exclamation. Lilitica drops a bombshell proposal on the assassin, stating firmly that she is going to employ her as a maid. Noah supports the idea, praising the assassin's sharp movements and noting her disguise was absolutely flawless. He admits he always thought he would want someone like her on his side, someone who possesses the strength not to despair when cornered. Listing her practical assets, Noah notes she can fight, take care of daily needs, and being a woman makes her the perfect helping hand. Angela looks stunned as Noah points out the financial logic, noting she would have only earned 10 gold coins for the assassination. Lilitica sweetens the deal, offering a salary of 3 gold coins a week and reminding her that execution pays nothing. The princess adds the ultimate incentive, pointing out that accepting this offer means Angela gets to keep her life. Angela hesitates, asking if Lilitica isn't afraid to hire the very person who just tried to kill her. Lilitica smiles warmly and replies without hesitation that she is not afraid because she trusts Angela. Angela stares blankly, her defenses crumbling under the unexpected display of faith. A hand reaches out, solidifying the pact between the royal and the former assassin. Angela finally relents, pledging to be Lilitica's maid and declaring that she is in. They quickly agree that staying in the castle is dangerous with other assassins besides Angela crawling around. Vovenargs interrupts to ask where they have been hiding, mentioning his knights found only a rundown shack at Noah's home. Noah explains that the doctor used a powerful magic crystal to disguise the house as a worthless shack. Lilitica commands Vovenargs to keep their secret, as they intend to hide there while searching for her brother. The knight commander drops to one knee, lowering himself in a gesture of absolute submission. He identifies himself formally as the captain of the First Knight Order. Despite his oath to King Ishtad, he pledges his full support to ensure Princess Lilitica's safety. The scene shifts to the exterior of a humble house under a bright sky. Inside, Lilitica gazes at a large orb, realizing this is the strong magic crystal Noah mentioned. Noah confirms it is the horn of a bicorn, and Lilitica shudders at the chill radiating from its power. He explains that unlike holy unicorns, bicorns carry wicked energy, and the doctor found this rare item on an expedition. Later, the mood lightens as Noah brings out a popular treat from Kant, which Lilitica finds adorable. She takes a bite, the sound of her munching filling the quiet room. Lilitica delights in the delicious taste, completely unaware of the mess she is making. Noah watches her with a soft expression, saying he is glad the treat suits her taste. He holds his own teacup, savoring the domestic atmosphere. Lilitica peeks over her cup, noticing their matching set and blushing at the implication. She internally flusters, thinking that even though they aren't lovers, this feels like a honeymoon. Suddenly, Noah leans in close and instructs her to stay perfectly still. His hand gently cups her chin, tilting her face up towards his. Lilitica freezes in surprise, her heart pounding as he invades her personal space. Noah closes the distance and presses his lips to the corner of her mouth. He lingers for a moment, gently licking away the stray bit of cream. Lilitica pushes him away in a panic, demanding to know what he is doing. Noah casually remarks that the cream was sweet and he was just cleaning her cheek. Lilitica yells that he could have just told her and he didn't need to kiss her. Noah ignores her embarrassment, maintaining his cool, unbothered demeanor. He asks if she wants him to feed her the rest, teasing her further. Holding out a spoonful of dessert, he offers it to her like she is a child. He points out her bright red face and asks why she isn't going to eat. Lilitica accepts the spoon, eating the treat with a mix of embarrassment and defiance. She complains internally that he acts cool but performs embarrassing acts without hesitation. She glances up at him, unable to stay angry at his teasing face. Noah smiles back, enjoying her reaction far too much. Angela watches the entire display from the background, blushing furiously at their shameless flirting. Noah continues feeding the princess, claiming it tastes even sweeter than the first bite, while Angela questions his sanity. Angela snaps, slamming her hand down in frustration at their relaxed attitude. She reports that thugs were tailing her in the market, paid to find Lilitica's location. She explains she had to lose them because leading them to the hideout would have been disastrous. Turning back to the couple, she demands to know what exactly they are doing while she is out working. Angela looks at Noah with exasperation, unable to believe his lack of urgency. She scolds Lilitica, telling her she isn't a kid and needs to remember how to do things on her own. Noah interrupts with a straight face, claiming he would be honored if the princess became so dependent she couldn't survive without him. Angela suggests they might need to run or hire someone else, questioning Noah's competence. Noah tells her not to take Lilitica's words seriously, dismissing the criticism. He narrows his eyes, his expression shifting from playful to possessive. He declares firmly that the person Her Highness trusts the most is him. Noah asserts his dominance, stating he served her first and has been paid twice, so Angela must go through him. Angela retorts that payment isn't proof of trust, clearly confused by his logic. Noah scoffs, asking what it matters how many times he got paid. He argues that gold buys love and his 2 payments mean he is favored, while Angela counters she will outrank him in 2 weeks with her salary. Noah glares silently at the math, while Angela tells him to stop looking at her like that. Angela retorts that if Noah is mad about the wage gap, he should go earn that much too. She waves dismissively, stating she is going to get started on the work she is actually being paid for. Without looking back, she exits the room and shuts the door, leaving the pair alone. Time passes quietly as night falls over the window, deepening the shadows in the room. Lilitica praises the meal, noting with delight that it had the nostalgic taste of life at the castle. Angela remarks from the doorway that just assassinating the princess doesn't pay enough after all. Laughing, she jokes that she might have swiped the recipes from the royal kitchen while she was there. Noah watches the interaction silently, his expression unreadable as the maid clears the dishes. Noah asks if Lilitica plans to sleep now, and she confirms while thanking him for keeping watch. He questions why she is spreading her belongings all over the bed instead of sleeping. Lilitica insists she is arranging them so she can live a cultured life without leaving the blanket. Noah argues it looks unhealthy not to move, but she counters that peace of mind is the first step to health. Glancing at the clutter, Noah spots a specific book lying open on the sheets. He asks if she is studying, recognizing the book she took from the doctor's shelf. Lilitica admits she lost her magic and fears people will say she is unfit to be Holy King because she can't bond with unicorns. She explains that unicorns are said to descend from the heavens and bond only with humans who possess magic. Citing the oldest coronation records, she notes that a good Holy King must be chosen and loved by the Unicorn King. However, she points to a passage stating even a magicless person can bond with unicorns if their heart is pure. Though she doesn't necessarily want the throne, she feels she might still have a chance to prove herself. Gazing at the book, she resolves to fulfill the role she can perform right now. Noah watches her with a contemplative expression, humming thoughtfully at her dedication. Deciding that is enough study for today, Lilitica closes the book and asks how long Noah plans to stay there. Noah replies calmly that he intends to stay and keep watch for the entire night. He reasons that they never know when someone might break in, despite the strong magic crystal protecting the house. Lilitica worries about waking Angela but also feels bad that staying up all night is rough on him. She suddenly perks up with an idea, offering to take shifts with him so he can rest. She argues she can wake him if anything suspicious happens, claiming staying up is no big deal for her. Noah interrupts her offer, stating there is something that has been bothering him for a while. He looks at her directly and observes that she doesn't seem to sleep well at night. Lulitica tries to deflect, but he points out she spends over 8 hours in her room supposedly sleeping. He deduces the problem is her sleep quality, noting she reads at night and naps frequently during the day. Stepping closer to the bedside, Noah's shadow falls over her legs. He suggests the cause of her insomnia might be her defensive sleeping posture. He explains she sleeps in a guarded state, whereas sleeping with one's back exposed is a sign of trust. Lulitica looks down sadly, recalling her brother's strict instructions to never let anyone get behind her. He taught her to keep something nearby to hide behind and to keep her ears open even with eyes shut. Noah reaches for her, and she smiles wistfully, admitting he is the first person to notice her struggle. Suddenly, Noah pulls her into his arms, apologizing for the intrusion as he holds her close. A knife and a letter slide off the bed, discarded as she is wrapped in his embrace. Lulitica is pressed firmly against his chest, engulfed by his presence and warmth. She stammers his name in shock, her eyes wide as she processes the sudden contact. Noah grips the sheets tight and vows firmly that he will protect her. He whispers into her hair, urging her to please sleep without worry tonight. Lulitica closes her eyes, letting her head rest against his shoulder. She realizes Noah is unlike anyone she has met because he truly sees her and wants to help. Her heart begins to pound loudly in her chest, leaving her flustered and unsure of what to do. Blushing deeply, she stays frozen in his arms, overwhelmed by the sound of her own heartbeat. Noah softly calls her name, checking to see if she is okay. Lulitica manages to whisper a quiet thank you in response to his kindness. Noah keeps his eyes open, watching over the room while holding her. Lulitica lies awake, painfully aware that her heartbeat is incredibly loud. She thinks to herself that despite his efforts, she won't be falling asleep anytime soon. Something stirs beneath the blanket, creating a soft rustling sound in the quiet room. The movement continues as the occupant shifts around, settling into a new position under the covers. Noah watches the lump in the bed, wondering internally why Lady Lulitica is always so unbearably adorable. His mind drifts back to a specific memory, thinking of a moment from the past. He recalls her smiling brightly while holding a large unicorn plushie, a look of pure joy on her face. Noah stares at her sleeping form, admitting to himself how hard it was to resist the urge to hold her tight. He silently vows that he would do absolutely anything for her if it meant seeing her smile. He reaffirms his conviction that he is her most loyal retainer, finding purpose in his devotion. Lulitica shifts in her sleep, letting out a soft groan as she dreams. She mumbles Noah's name in her sleep, complaining that she has had enough unicorn cakes. Noah gazes down at her, his expression softening into one of deep, unguarded affection. He reaches out, his hand hovering gently near her face as she sleeps. Unable to hold back, he leans in closer, the sound of fabric rustling as he moves to hold her. Noah presses a tender kiss to her forehead, a secret gesture of intimacy in the quiet night. His eye reflects a fierce determination as he looks at her peaceful face close to his. He whispers a solemn vow that this time, he will protect her for sure. Wrapping his arms around her, he swears to shield her even if it costs him his life. Morning light floods the room, illuminating the furniture as the new day begins. Angela's voice calls out from the hallway, announcing that it is time for Lulitica to wake up. She opens the door to wake the princess, completely unaware of the situation inside. Angela freezes in the doorway, letting out a shocked shout at the sight before her. She tells Lulitica to look at herself instead of searching for an intruder, prompting the princess to check her surroundings. Lulitica looks down, confused by the maid's frantic reaction and shouting. She sees Noah sleeping soundly right next to her, his face peaceful and uncomfortably close. Her face erupts into a blush as the reality of the situation crashes down on her. She panics, unable to believe she actually slept like that next to him until morning. Noah stirs, gripping the sheet as he begins to wake up from the commotion. He opens his eyes, looking groggy, while Lulitica stammers his name in embarrassment. Trying to act normal, she asks if he slept well, her voice shaking with nerves. Noah smiles brightly and confirms that he slept like a baby. He beams with satisfaction, saying that it is good to hear, while Lulitica flusters. Internally, Lulitica screams that this situation is not good at all and wishes he would stop blushing. Angela rages in the background, demanding to know why they were sleeping together when assassins are hunting them. Noah yawns unbothered, explaining that he only fell asleep after dawn. He claims he stayed up because he didn't want to miss Lady Lolutica's fascinating sleep talk. He lists her bizarre dreams about protecting the land of dreams from Julio's army and giant unicorn cakes. Smiling swiftly, he admits that watching her sleep was incredibly entertaining. Lolutica turns pale, mortified that he heard her embarrassing sleep babble. She punches him in a panic, demanding he delete his memory, but he refuses because it is too precious. Angela glares at the bickering pair, her patience wearing thin at their antics. She shouts at them to get down from the bed because they are stirring up dust. Angela addresses Lolutica with a serious tone, demanding her full attention. She lectures the princess that sleeping next to a man she isn't engaged to is improper and she must refuse next time. Lolutica defends him, claiming he just helped her fall asleep because she was exhausted, and tells Angela not to misunderstand. Angela questions how Lolutica can be sure he didn't do anything while she was asleep. She suggests that he might have gotten carried away and tried something inappropriate. Lolutica shouts back defensively, insisting that Noah would never do something like that. Angela chops her on the head, telling her she still needs to stay cautious even if she trusts him. Lolutica rubs her head, meekly agreeing to be more careful in the future. Angela produces a piece of paper with a list of demands written on it. The list details rules for sleeping together, such as, "Don't stare at my sleeping face," and "Forget sleep talk." Angela presents the rules for sleeping together to Noah to ensure propriety. Noah slaps the paper down instantly, declaring a flat refusal with a serious face. He argues that night is the only time he gets to monopolize the princess since Angela has her during the day. He changes tactics, offering Lolutica a sweet treat as a bribe. He proposes that if she accepts his conditions, she gets 1 sweet per night, more than Angela gets. Angela looks at Lolutica incredulously, asking if that is really all it takes to sway her. Lolutica looks guilty, realizing her attempt to set boundaries is crumbling. She admits she just wanted to set some rules since she is the one being looked after. Noah looks at her quietly, simply saying, "I see." He reaches out, his hand moving towards her with a gentle intent. He pulls a lock of her hair, causing her to gasp in surprise at the contact. Noah asks her to let them stay like this, promising to keep his vow of protection without needing the gold coins. Lolutica stares up at him, touched and surprised, asking if he really means it. Noah quietly declines the offer, stating firmly that he does not want the coins. He clarifies to Lolutica that his refusal is not about compensation. Noah struggles with a burning heat inside him, resolving to endure it as long as he can stay by her side. Lolutica buries her face in the pillow, overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment. Noah gazes at her, wondering about her thoughts. He questions if she has any idea how deeply he longs for her. The scene abruptly shifts as a sign announces an emergency strategy meeting. Angela screams at them, demanding to know what is wrong with the slackers. She berates them for lazing around while Julio's faction is ahead with rescue missions and talks. Angela explains that the political situation is all people talk about in the markets. The public fears subjugation to the Galactra Empire and questions if they can trust Julio. Angela warns that Galactra will interfere with national affairs and rewrite the system if Julio wins. While Julio has the Cardinal Council, Lolutica remains unknown, making it hard for people to rally behind her. Noah agrees with a grim expression, acknowledging their disadvantage. Noah points out the irony of Angela's sudden devotion considering she tried to assassinate Lolutica just days ago. Angela shamelessly admits she only cares because if Lolutica loses, she has to go back to being an assassin. She argues that babysitting a lazy princess for better gold is a much better deal. A foot slams down violently onto the table to emphasize her point. Angela grabs Lolutica, screaming that her entire livelihood depends on the princess's effort. Terrified by her intensity, Noah and Lolutica stiffen up and shout their agreement. Composing herself, Angela announces it is time to discuss strategy going forward. Noah and Lolutica lean in together, looking confused by the sudden shift. Angela begins listing what is lacking to boost approval ratings, starting with making Lolutica look like a proper heir. Angela immediately suggests a plan to physically eliminate any cardinal who refuses to recognize Lolutica. Angela cheers for her own violent suggestion with a fist pump. Noah pivots to appearance, noting they have dresses but arriving on a black unicorn is a problem for royalty. He suggests getting a luxury carriage to match Julio, who rides a gold-plated one with a squad of guards. Lilitica wonders if she really needs a carriage since she doesn't travel much. She realizes that having a personal guard, like the first holy knights who guarded her brother, would make her safer from assassins. Her ear twitches as a new idea begins to form. Noah asks if she basically wants to form a personal knight order. Lilitica declares that she, Angela, and Noah will be the founding members. Angela mocks the idea but suggests the Princess Lilitica Devotion Knights to serve and worship her. Noah points out that two people hardly constitute a knight order. Lilitica stares at a cupcake, insisting there is no rule about numbers. She argues that it is fine even if it is just for show. Noah agrees, noting that as long as it looks like she has followers, it will pressure the enemy. Angela questions how they actually form a knight order, admitting Noah has a point about the size. Lilitica's eye widens as she has a realization. She excitedly suggests they just use her gold coins. She plans to hire members, noting that even assassins will join if the price is right at 10 gold coins each. Noah suggests asking the captain for a sturdy carriage his brother used privately. Lilitica proposes hiring people to line the streets and chant, "Long live Lady Lilitica," to create a fake public audience. She pauses, admitting that tricking people into thinking she is a noble person worthy of the throne feels wrong. Noah looks at her gently as she explains she only declared candidacy to buy time to find her brother. She insists she never wanted to be a ruler, she just wants to protect philosophy. Lilitica states that as long as she can hold off Prince Julio, that is enough. She pauses mid-thought as a new idea occurs to her. Noah worries that since Julio is already ahead with visits, their efforts might just look like a cheap copy. Lilitica corrects him with a mysterious confidence. She reveals there is one place Julio hasn't been where she can show up as a princess. She dramatically unfolds a map on the table to show them the location. Noah and Angela stare at her, surprised by her sudden initiative. Lilitica smiles confidently, declaring that a true shut-in knows how to gather intel without leaving home. The camera shutter snaps, capturing the scene in a burst of stark contrast as the photographer focuses on the subject. Princess Lilitica stands radiant and composed, her elegant dress and flowing hair creating a picture of royal grace amidst the flash of photography. Bystanders murmur in awe as they recognize Princess Lilitica, their whispers confirming her identity to the crowd. The gossip continues as the crowd spots the rumored knight, noting his presence as the one who swore absolute loyalty to her. A newspaper clipping reveals the public narrative, displaying a stoic image of the knight standing faithfully behind Lilitica and Ishtad. Lilitica finally exhales a sharp breath, her composed facade cracking the moment she thinks she is out of public view. She gasps that she thought she would suffocate, but her knight dryly reminds her that it is actually permissible to breathe while walking. Lilitica complains that her posture has become permanently hunched from her reclusive lifestyle, making it impossible to stand tall and breathe simultaneously. Noah observes her from the window, noting that she is curling up again due to what she claims is stubborn muscle memory. Outside the iron gates, reporters and cameramen lurk like vultures, waiting for another glimpse of the royals. Noah confirms that the rumors they planted in the market were effective, as the press took the bait exactly as intended. He reports with satisfaction that their mage strategy was a complete success, solidifying their plan. The heavy doors of the church swing open, admitting the royal visitors into the sanctuary. The greeting party bows respectfully, welcoming Princess Lilitica to their humble establishment. Het's sister Bess introduces herself, expressing honor at the visit and mentioning that Lilitica's brother often wrote about this church in his letters. Bess immediately offers to guide the princess around the grounds to show her the facilities. Lilitica recalls that her brother Ishtad paid special attention to churches with weaker ties to the Cardinal Council. She reflects on how these struggling churches lost their subsidies due to dwindling worshippers and tourists. To keep them afloat, Ishtad visited them regularly and provided the necessary financial support. His visits were frequent, occurring several times a year to ensure their survival. The nuns express their deep gratitude, stating that the church has only been able to continue thanks to His Majesty Ishtad's kindness. Lilitica listens intently, her eyes widening as she processes the depth of her brother's hidden benevolence. In the distance, a group of children play in the grass, their laughter echoing through the church grounds. Bess explains that those children are orphans currently living under the church's care. She adds that they can provide the children with food and beds solely because of His Majesty's aid. Lilitica steps forward, her gaze softening as she approaches the group of playing children. A young child looks up with curiosity, asking the strange lady who she is. The nun introduces her to the children, explaining that she is the little sister of His Majesty Ishtad, who always visits them. Lulitica bends down to eye level, meeting the innocent gaze of the child with a gentle expression. She introduces herself to the group, explaining that she has come to see them today in her brother Ishtad's place. The children's eyes light up with excitement as they ask if Big Sis is going to play with them. Lulitica smiles broadly, assuring them that of course she will join in their games. The children cheer and immediately drag her away, shouting for her to hurry up and come over to the play area. Lulitica runs alongside them, her royal decorum forgotten in the rush of the moment. She stumbles slightly, but when a nun asks if she is okay, she quickly recovers. She insists she is fine, declaring that this is a rare chance and she intends to play together with them. Turning back, she grabs Noah by the hand and commands him to come along and join the fun. Her face beams with genuine joy, a stark contrast to her earlier tension. The group forms a circle, spinning around with laughter as the princess and her knight join the orphans. They transition to a game of tag, with Lulitica laughing and running freely among the children. As she plays, she wonders if her brother felt this same relief, momentarily forgetting the succession battle while in this sanctuary. A camera shutter clicks from the bushes, capturing the candid moment of joy. Lulitica giggles, completely immersed in the simple happiness of the game. Suddenly, she stops, surprised by something one of the children is holding. A child presents her with a gift, and Lulitica smiles warmly at the gesture. It is a flower crown woven from daisies, which the child offers to her. The children ask why brother Ishtad hasn't visited lately, innocently speculating that he might have caught a cold like a unicorn. Lulitica pauses, confused by the strange comparison of her brother to a unicorn with a cold. The children explain that the unicorns have seemed weak lately, and mention that Ishtad used to go behind the church to see them. Lulitica repeats the phrase, behind the church, her curiosity piqued by this new information. She tells the children she will check on the unicorns on her way out to ensure they are okay. The church spire stands tall against the sky as Lulitica heads toward the back of the grounds. She stops in her tracks, letting out a breath of amazement at what she finds. Before her lies a unicorn landing site, filled with the majestic creatures. However, her awe quickly turns to horror as she takes a closer look at the animals. Tears well up in her eyes as she realizes that every single unicorn in the herd has a broken horn. Noah steps up beside her, grimly confirming that humans are responsible for this cruelty. He explains that their horns are the source of their magic, so humans break them to prevent the creatures from flying away. He reveals that this place is a sanctuary for those permanently grounded unicorns who can no longer return to the sky. Lulitica realizes this mutilation is akin to breaking a human's legs, finally understanding Ishtad's passion for the Unicorn Protection Act. She reaches out to touch the jagged stump of a unicorn's horn, her heart breaking for the creature. Gently stroking the animal's face, she apologizes for the suffering humans have inflicted upon it. With determination in her eyes, she vows to build a country where they will never be harmed again. The carriage wheels creak as they depart, leaving the sanctuary behind but carrying a new resolve. Prince Julio arrives at the unicorn landing site with a smirk, accompanied by Chief Cardinal Machiavel, and surveys the scene with amusement. Noah formally identifies the intruders as Prince Julio of Galactra and Chief Cardinal Machiavel, his voice low and wary. Julio greets Princess Lulitica with a condescending smile, remarking that he assumed she was still hiding away somewhere. He taunts her, asking if his numerous invitations made her anxious enough to finally emerge for a mere charity visit. Lulitica retorts that she is simply stepping in to protect the country in place of her missing brother. Julio dismisses her resolve with a scoff, telling her there is no need to put on such a brave face. He seeks confirmation from Machiavel, who smirks and readily agrees with the prince's assessment. Julio lectures her that a magicless royal cloistered in a convent must play a role until the succession is decided, even if she is destined to lose. He asserts that she cannot hope to compete in this political game unless she learns to put on a convincing show. Glancing at Noah, Julio muses on the oddity of a knight following her, wondering if he is a fanatic believer like those in the Holy Nation. He leans in closer, his eyes narrowing as he suggests there might be a more intimate reason for the knight's loyalty. With a provocative whisper, he insinuates that the knight might actually be her lover. Noah interrupts the prince's taunts, quietly asking Princess Lulitica for forgiveness before intervening. He firmly demands that the prince refrain from making such disrespectful and baseless remarks. Julio laughs off the rebuke, reminding the knight that the princess he serves is destined to fail in the race for Holy King. Noah counters that Lulitica is kind and sincere, asserting that it is actually Julio who will never sit on the throne. He declares with absolute conviction that she is the one most suited to become the Holy King. A sharp sound cuts through the air as someone prepares to draw a weapon in response to the knight's insolence. Noah steps forward defensively as tension spikes, placing himself between the princess and the aggressors. Julio shakes his head dismissively, stating that they simply do not understand the reality of the situation. He proclaims that the moment he takes the throne, he will immediately abolish the Unicorn Protection Act because a kind heart cannot lead a country to prosperity. He argues coldly that sacrifices must be made to truly enrich the nation. Noah retorts that the unicorns stopped coming precisely because humans prioritized profit and harvested their magic stones. Julio shrugs with indifference, asking bluntly what difference that history makes now. He reasons that scarcity only raises their value, so fewer unicorns appearing means the harvested stones are worth even more. He concludes with a twisted logic that the situation is all gain and no loss for the kingdom's coffers. Noah realizes with horror that Julio views the sacred beasts not as blessings, but merely as objects to be exploited. He internalizes that handing the country over to such a man would be an absolute disaster, as Julio sees life only as a commodity. Julio observes that the grounded unicorns here cannot run or fly away even if approached. A cruel idea strikes him, and he cheerfully suggests that he should try riding one of the crippled beasts. He declares he has always wanted to try it and grabs the mane of a nearby unicorn to mount it. The unicorn freezes, sensing the malice of the human climbing onto its back. The beast thrashes violently, bucking and screaming in distress as Julio struggles to hold on. Julio scowls, annoyed by the resistance, and decides the animal is simply poorly trained and dislikes him. His expression darkens as he decides he needs to teach the rebellious creature a lesson in obedience. Raising his hand to strike, he shouts that the beast needs to learn that humans are the ones in charge. Lilitica gasps, her eyes widening in shock at the prince's casual cruelty. She screams for him to stop, unable to watch the abuse any longer. A sudden burst of energy erupts from the princess, knocking the aggressors back with a powerful force. Julio and his aide are thrown off balance, stumbling away in surprise as the impact hits them. Lilitica stares at her own hands, trembling as she tries to comprehend the power she just released. She stares in confusion, asking aloud what just happened as the air settles around her. The observers mutter in disbelief, noting that nothing like this has occurred since the accident years ago. Julio's arrogant mask slips, replaced by a look of genuine shock and concern as he processes the event. He grits his teeth, hissing that this display of power is not what he was told to expect. Lilitica stands frozen, overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events and the implications of her action. Noah gazes at her with an intense, unreadable expression, his eyes fixed on the princess. She turns to her knight, her voice trembling as she begins to explain herself. Clenching her dress, she insists desperately that she did not lie to him about her condition. Tears well in her eyes as she swears that she truly should not possess any magic at all. The unicorn approaches her gently, nuzzling against her cheek in a gesture of comfort and recognition. From the shadows, a camera shutter clicks once more, capturing the miraculous moment for the world to see. A sinister chuckle echoes over a report about the feral tide, hinting that hidden schemes are finally in motion. Two unseen conspirators discuss the situation, satisfied that everything looks like it went exactly as they hoped. Noah informs Lilitica that her popularity among the citizens is rising, confirming that their investment is paying off just as planned. Lilitica looks despondent, admitting that despite the good news, they still need to buy more time because she hasn't found her brother. She explains that gathering information has led to nothing and she is now using charity visits as a cover to investigate places he might have gone. Staring at the floor, she whispers a quiet prayer, hoping desperately that he is safe. Noah interrupts her thoughts, asking curiously what she is doing with the pile of paper scraps she is cutting. Lilitica continues snip-snipping as she explains she is cutting them out to stick in an album and preserve them. Noah glares at the clippings, declaring that pictures with Lady Lilitica are treasures and asking if she expects him to throw them away. He turns away with a huff, insisting he will never discard them, leaving Lilitica to sigh at his predictable obsession. Lilitica notes internally that his fanatical devotion to her hasn't changed in the slightest. She finds it strange that Noah treats her exactly the same as always, even though she expected him to call her a liar after the magic outburst. A flashback reveals Angela's excited reaction to the incident, where she praised Lilitica's amazing power. Since then, Angela has been even more devoted than before, completely enamored by her mistress's strength. A hand gently closes the book on the table, signaling the end of the conversation with a soft thud. Noah stands up and dutifully announces that he will go prepare tea for them now. Lilitica watches him leave, realizing that Noah has actually been acting a little differently lately, though not about the magic. She tries to pinpoint the change, noting it usually happens during mundane moments, like when they have tea. Noah returns and serves her tea with a gentle expression, prompting her to thank him hesitantly. He smiles with an unusual softness as he hands her the cup, creating a strangely intimate atmosphere. Lilitica blushes, her mind wandering as she recalls another instance of this new behavior. She remembers a time when they were heading to the dining hall together and she stumbled slightly. Noah abruptly sweeps her up into his arms, claiming the stairs are dangerous and insisting on carrying her. Flustered by the sudden proximity, Lilitica can only utter a small sound of surprise as he holds her. He sets her down gently at their destination, leaving her confused as she offers a questioning thanks. Back in the present, Noah announces he has prepared a history book for tonight, stating the best time to learn is before bed. Lilitica agrees and follows him, thanking him for his dedication to her education. He leads her into the bedroom, holding her hand with a natural familiarity that borders on improper. The scene reveals Noah lying in bed right next to her to read the book, prompting a shocked reaction from off-screen. Angela bursts into the room, screaming for them to wait a second and demanding to know what is going on. She scolds them furiously, shouting that they are acting so normal it's throwing her off and that this is way too overprotective. Lilitica innocently asks what isn't normal, causing Angela to scream back that this is definitely not normal. Angela demands to know how she can be so oblivious to the impropriety of the situation. She lists his offenses, yelling that no normal knight spoon-feeds their master, carries them bridal style, or sleeps next to them. Lilitica puts a finger to her chin, admitting that now that Angela mentions it, it does seem odd. Noah calmly claims he is simply treating the next holy king with respect, while Angela accuses him of overdoing the attendant role. Angela grabs Lilitica, shaking her and telling her not to just accept his twisted logic. She throws a pillow at Noah, declaring that Lilitica has been brainwashed by her knight's obsessive behavior. Angela worries about the upcoming banquet, fearing Lilitica will forget how to behave like a proper princess if this continues. Noah brings up the banquet, mentioning an invitation from Julio that was delivered to the royal castle. He adds that Commander Vovenargs was the one who brought the invitation to them. Noah explains that Julio is throwing a party for the country's major figures. He warns Lilitica that the trash prince will likely try to ruin her image during the event. He asks if she can hold her head high and act confident, noting that declining would make it look like she ran away. Lilitica holds up a coin, her confidence returning as she prepares her strategy. She smiles cunningly, declaring that it will be fine because she has her secret weapon, microtransactions. The scene shifts to a meeting room where she explains her plan to Commander Vovenargs. She concludes her explanation, laying out the situation clearly for the commander. Vovenargs agrees to help in full, understanding that she wants to show up with unexpected equipment. Lilitica asks for 8 escorts and promises to pay for their services later. She specifies that she needs men in black uniforms, preferably those who won't admit they were hired with gold coins. Vovenargs teases Noah, recalling how he once cornered the king to say white uniforms were tacky. Lilitica is stunned, asking if that confrontation really happened. She realizes for the first time that Noah is actually quite close to his majesty. Vovenargs laughs, recounting how the room froze but the king laughed when Noah pledged to follow him only as a warm-up. Noah defends himself, stating that humans usually hide their true thoughts and he was simply being honest. Vovenargs advises him to be careful, as too much honesty makes enemies, especially when protecting his lady. Noah thanks him for the advice and Vovenargs asks if Lilitica needs anything else. Lilitica becomes serious, stating that she actually has the biggest favor of all to ask. The grand ballroom stands empty, waiting for the practice session to begin. Elegant shoes step in time as the dance practice commences. Lilitica is dancing with the massive Commander Vovenargs, holding his hand as they move. Vovenargs looks down nervously, asking if he is really the right choice for a dance partner. Lilitica smiles up at him warmly, assuring him that it has to be him, Commander. Lilitica explains the necessity of the formal ballroom dance at the upcoming banquet to her companions, laying out the social battlefield. She reasons that while Noah is her knight, dancing with him might suggest a lack of noble backing, whereas Commander Vovenargs offers political legitimacy. She concludes that as her brother's respected aide and a physically imposing figure, he is the best candidate to silence the gossip effectively. Vovenargs accepts the honor with a bow, though he sheepishly admits that he is not actually very good at dancing. Leaning in closer, the commander whispers anxiously to ask if this arrangement is really okay given the circumstances. He points a thumb over his shoulder, noting that guy over there looks like he is about to cry tears of blood from jealousy. Lilitica turns to her knight with a sharp look, asking Noah directly if he has a problem with the plan. Noah averts his gaze and stiffly replies that he has no problem at all, despite the aura of doom surrounding him. Vovenargs mentally begs Noah not to go into combat mode or fantasize about slicing off the hand resting on the princess's waist. The heavy doors of the practice room stand tall, marking the transition from rehearsal to the final preparations. Back in the parlor, Lilitica notes they have little time left before the banquet and expresses her relief that the commander is on their side. Noah watches her silently, his gaze heavy with an unspoken emotion that clouds his usual stoicism. He breaks the silence, calling out her title with a serious tone that draws her full attention. Noah states that while he trusts the commander, he and Angela will handle security personally on the day to guard against assassins. Lilitica smiles warmly at his dedication, admitting that his presence would definitely make her feel safer. Noah hesitates, his expression softening into something more vulnerable and pained as he looks at her. He begins to speak again, murmuring a quiet, "however," as he steps closer to her. Reaching out to touch her face, he confesses that he really does not want her dancing with anyone else. Lilitica freezes, her eyes widening as she processes the raw intensity of his words. He gazes at her with a longing that transcends his duty as a knight, the atmosphere thick with tension. His eyes search hers, conveying a depth of feeling that leaves no room for misunderstanding. His hand cups her cheek gently, holding her there as the world seems to fade away around them. Lilitica can only stare back, captivated by the sudden intimacy of the moment. He leans in closer, the distance between them closing until it is almost non-existent. The moment shatters as the door swings open and a knight announces that the rented carriage is ready. Oblivious to the tension, the knight reports that the hired guards have been outfitted with new uniforms for their disguises. He adds enthusiastically that the commander chose the top-tier men himself to ensure safety. Lilitica jumps away from Noah, stammering a flustered thanks to the messenger while trying to compose herself. She clutches her chest, wondering wildly what just happened as the knight ushers them to leave. Noah steps in smoothly to escort her, his composure returned as he asks if she is all right. She looks up at him, her face still flushed from the near-kiss moment that just occurred. Noah scolds her for letting her priorities get reversed, dismissing her stammered excuse about investment ideas as nothing. He lectures her that she already has enough gear and accessories, so there is no need for more spending. Lilitica looks down, thinking that no matter how much she dresses up, she still feels like the same, shabby girl inside. Seeking reassurance, she calls out to him softly to get his attention. She asks if he can share some magic with her again, needing that boost of confidence. She reaches out and takes his hand, looking for the connection that empowers her. Noah looks at her tenderly, telling her that she is already beautiful even without any magic. Lilitica insists that she will be compared to Julio regardless, so she wants to be at her absolute best. She pours coins onto the table, offering to pay for 2, 3, or even 10 charges if one isn't enough. Desperate to repay him, she points out that he doesn't even take a salary like Angela does. Noah gently stops her hand, his touch silencing her frantic offer immediately. He tells her quietly that just one charge is enough to transfer the magic she needs. He muses that transferring magic isn't something that should be done lightly, as receiving it from someone else creates a bond. He warns her that if he grants too many of these wishes, it becomes dangerous for his self-control. He looks away, admitting in a whisper that he will just end up wanting more than he should. Lilitica blinks, staring at him in confusion as she tries to parse his cryptic meaning. Realizing he said too much, Noah snaps out of it, looking surprised at his own slip of the tongue. He quickly backpedals, stammering for her to go ahead and accept the magic. He kisses the back of her hand reverently, the contact transferring the magical energy between them. Lilitica feels the power flow into her, whispering the word, banquet, as she steels herself for what is to come. Noah smiles, regaining his composure, and says he looks forward to seeing her all dressed up. The scene opens at a lavish banquet where Julio proposes a toast to the wonderful evening. Glasses clink together as the guests join in the cheerful toast. Lulutica brings the glass to her lips, eyes closed in calm composure. She hesitates, darkly musing that the drink might contain poison given the hostile atmosphere. She glances sideways, observing the room. Whispers circulate that rumors about her incompetence are unfounded, noting her loyal retainers. Observers comment that bringing her supporters was a strategic move, solidifying her political standing. Julio watches her, realizing he needs to match her strength with a final push to secure his own legacy. A sudden thought strikes him, prompting a reaction of mild surprise. Smiling smugly, he remarks on the impressive crowd she has gathered around her. He dismissively characterizes her supporters as merely people lending strength for her bid to become the Holy King. Despite the numbers, he scoffs internally, believing that if this is all she has, they pose no real threat to him. The consensus among the elite remains that no candidate holds more public support than Prince Julio. Critics whisper that Lulutica is hopelessly naive and should know her place by withdrawing. Julio agrees with the sentiment, his eyes narrowing with calculated disdain. He openly taunts her, suggesting she might be too incompetent to realize it is time to give up. Lulutica starts to retort indignantly but is cut off. The word useless hangs in the air, a stinging insult aimed to undermine her. Suddenly, a voice interrupts the tension, asking for pardon. A man from the church in the Maroni district steps forward to speak respectfully. He declares that Princess Lulutica is not the person Julio claims she is. He recounts how a massive flood devastated their district last year, washing away their soil and crops. The man reveals that Lulutica was the very first to send encouragement and financial aid. She ingeniously suggested reviving their old dyeing tradition using the vegetables ruined by the flood. Lulutica listens quietly, recalling that such an event did indeed happen. The memory surfaces of her reading a history book about Maroni's dyed textiles made from steamed vegetables. Realizing the connection, she confirms that this historical knowledge was why she sent the letter. When asked how the district is faring, the man beams, reporting that thanks to her, they are doing very well. He attributes their current good fortune entirely to her wisdom. Lulutica smiles humbly, expressing her honor at having been of help. The mood in the room shifts as guests realize the rumors of her naivety were lies and that she is well-versed in history. A glass is set down hard on the table, the sharp sound cutting through the chatter. Julio abruptly declares the banquet over, claiming he has lost his appetite. He orders the staff to clear the room and announces it is time for the dancing. Musicians begin to play, filling the hall with the sounds of a waltz. Lulutica sighs in relief, glad that the confrontation did not escalate further. However, she worries about what Julio might do next given his foul mood. Julio approaches her with a forced smile, asking her to dance to lift his spirits. Lulutica freezes, caught off guard by the sudden invitation. She hesitates, looking around for her commander, unsure about accepting. She realizes the commander hasn't arrived yet because the banquet ended earlier than expected. Panic sets in as she stares at the empty entrance, confirming he is not there. She fears dancing with Julio could turn into a physical struggle, but knows she cannot dance with anyone else. Resigning herself to the situation, she realizes she cannot afford to reject his hand publicly. She places her hand in his, maintaining a polite facade despite her internal apprehension. As he pulls her close, his grip tightens, leaving her wondering what he is planning. They begin to move, her steps cautious as she tries to read his intent. She focuses intently, needing to find out his motive behind this dance. Julio leans in, whispering that she is better at dancing than he initially thought. She retorts coolly that it is only thanks to Prince Julio's excellent lead. He sneers, impressed in a twisted way that she can still say flattering things despite the tension. Lulutica remains silent, her expression guarded as she endures his proximity. Suddenly, he squeezes her hand with excessive force, causing her to wince in pain. She confronts him directly, stating clearly that he is hurting her. He mocks her frailty while refusing to relax his grip, ignoring her plea. Julio leans closer, revealing he knows exactly why she was shut away in the convent. A cruel smirk spreads across his face as he prepares to expose her secret. Before she can stop him, he moves to brush her bangs aside. The hair is lifted to reveal a jagged scar on her forehead, and Julio taunts that she wouldn't dare show such ugliness. Lulutica falls to the floor in shock, exposed before the watching crowd. Julio cruelly declares that with a scarred face and lost magic, she is useless even for a political marriage. Lulutica stares blankly, the scar on her forehead now visible to everyone. She sits isolated on the dance floor, the weight of the humiliation settling in. Julio looks down at her with a triumphant, malicious smile, satisfied with his cruelty. Lulitica stands frozen as the terrifying gaze of the surrounding crowd bears down on her, stripping away her composure. Desperate to escape, she commands her legs to move, but panic paralyzes her as her breath comes in ragged, shallow gasps. On the verge of collapse, she cries out a desperate plea for help, whispering Noah's name into the suffocating air. In an instant, strong arms catch her falling body, scooping her up before she hits the floor. A familiar, steady voice cuts through her fear, assuring her that she is safe now. Tears well in her eyes as she looks up and recognizes her savior is Noah. He pulls her face into his chest, shielding her completely from the prying eyes of the guests. Noah's eyes narrow with a sharp, protective intensity as he assesses the hostile room. His hand grips her dress tightly, anchoring her against him as he prepares to move. Ignoring the stunned onlookers, Noah carries Lulitica bridal style away from the dance floor while Julio observes in silence. His footsteps echo softly against the stone floor as he carries her out of the hall, leaving the murmurs behind. Julio glares after them, a look of sharp disdain twisting his features at the dramatic exit. He scoffs internally at the overprotective fools, mocking the nature of the princess's knights. The scene shifts to the quiet of a corridor, far removed from the opulent chandelier of the banquet hall. Noah gently sets Lulitica down on a bench, steadying her trembling form. He instructs her to rest there for a moment while he goes to prepare the carriage. As he turns to leave, Lulitica reaches out and grabs his sleeve to stop him. With a pleading look, she asks him to wait, not wanting to be left alone. Noah pauses immediately, turning back to ask what is troubling her. She finally voices the question that has haunted her, asking why he never asked about her scar. She reasons internally that he must have noticed it ages ago since they have lived together for so long. Touching the mark, she reveals that she received the injury during the explosion at the Judith Research Institute. She explains that the institute, led by Dr. Kirchestein, was developing artificial magic stones. She confesses that she visited as a princess and was tragically caught in the explosion. She recounts the rumor that she survived only by using all her magic to shield herself, an event that changed her life forever. Even now, the memory of the pitying looks and cruel words she endured pierces her heart. A heavy silence hangs between them as the weight of her confession settles in the air. She reflects that if she had acted royal and faced her parents back then, no one would have blamed her, but stepping away brought relief. With a sad smile, she wonders if she could have held her head high as a princess even without magic or with a scar. Noah looks at her with an intense, unwavering gaze, absorbing every word she says. He speaks firmly, telling her that she is more than enough just as she is. He reassures her that even without magic or with scars, she remains Princess Lulitica to him. He declares with absolute conviction that if that weren't true, he never would have sworn his loyalty to her. Tears welling up, she asks vulnerably if he is really sure about her. He confirms immediately, stating simply and powerfully that he wants her. Closing the distance, he gently kisses her forehead in a gesture of reverence and affection. He vows that no matter what happens, he will always be by her side, asking her to believe in him. Lulitica leans into his embrace, finding comfort and safety in his presence. He reaches out his hand, offering her a physical anchor to his promise. He squeezes her hand tightly, his expression filled with a quiet, fierce resolve to protect her.